Fascinating.
Hello there, and welcome to this video on Get Actor of Class. So Get Actor of Class is a very powerful node. It searches your world and based on the class that you select, it filters out and returns that value. So if your world is full of lots of actors, then it's going to go through every single one of them. So you don't want to use this too often, and you want to filter out and then save what is returned into either a variable in this case, and with the plural get all actors of class into an array. So I'll demonstrate that in this video. So if we come here and look at get actor of class. So here we have the node, and in this instance, I am getting access to the directional light in the world. Now, if we come back to our world outliner, we have lots of different actors here, and some of them are referenced by name, and some are blueprints that we can click into, but we can't click into the directional light. But we can reference it because it is an actor. So I tend to use get actor of class, apologies, to identify individual objects. So here we can access the directional light, the exponential fog height, volumetric cloud, whatever it is. So coming back to our blueprint, you can see that on event begin play, I'm writing three local variables. So I'm writing a reference to the directional light once I've searched the whole level and filtered out that directional light. Get actor of class will just get the first of any class. If there's multiple directional lights, it will just return one. And that will be the first one that it finds based on its naming and ID number. So here we're saving it as a local variable. Similarly, on the second sequence, after begin play, we're accessing the exponential fog height and writing that locally. Wind direction is another example. So once we have that and we've accessed the actor in our world, we then have the ability with the return value, after we've set up a local variable, to start affecting parameters of that actor. So here, for example, the directional light, we can now affect the rotation. So if this is linked to a time of day or the sun sky actor, then we can affect where the sun is in the sky using the new rotation. With exponential fog height, we can come in and dynamically change the in scattering color, for example. And with wind direction, we can come in and potentially change the wind strength based on our proximity to a particular object, for example. So although these references are local, we might also want to access these more often than just within this single actor. So there is, of course, the potential to take our setup and add it here into the game instance. So if we come back to our override, and if I select the init, which is the game instance's equivalent of begin play, and then I want to promote that to variable. As mentioned before, I tend to prefix any variables here with GI. Etc. etc. I can kind of carry that on, have references that are in the game instance, and then let me compile and save that first. And now if I get GI, I can now access the directional light through the game instance and, for example, set its intensity. So, I put that within this actor here, which is just an actor that's in the world. But of course, this can be within a widget or a HUD and be controlled with a slider or, well, anything, a checkbox, however you want to deal with the interaction. So coming back to our getActiveClass, one thing to avoid is using getActiveClass on tick, because if you've got 200 objects in your world and your tick is running at 200 frames per second, then that's going to be 40,000 instructions a second, and that will just bomb your frame rate. So really avoid using getActiveClass on tick. Now, I've added it just here on event begin play, but of course, remember that although event begin play and there's an overlap node and the event tick are placed in any blueprint when you first arrive, you don't have to rely on them. They can kind of be a trap. So I could always instigate that through a custom event instead. So rather than having lots of actors in my world that all work from begin play, I can add a custom event and then trigger that by accessing this actor. Another thing to consider is to keep your getActiveClass as a separate instruction. So here I've put it on its own fork of a sequence, rather than dropping it in here and then that action being performed 100 times. So when I've gone back into some code when I started Blueprints, I've made this mistake because I would kind of think, oh, okay, well, I've dealt with that. And then further on down in the Blueprint flow, I then do something like that and cause myself all sorts of headaches. So make sure that you are kind of considering the flow so that you're not tripping yourself up by overloading. So that's an introduction to getActiveClass, which gets one actor, the first actor of multiple actors of the same class in your world, and filters it out so that you can then either save it locally or, for example, to the game instance. Thanks very much. I hope that was of use.
Live long and prosper.